As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
Because this next story was specifically requested on, actually, I think it was a message sent to our Twitter account. And it's a topic we've discussed before, but I think it's definitely worth revisiting because there's more information now. By the way, before I move on, I'll just mention Trent said lifestyle brands working on their ICO to offer governance via DAO. Yes, we have buzzword soup over there. So the next topic here is really all about Dr. Disrespect. And if you guys remember, there were rumblings, there were rumors that he was going to do his own game studio. Then some details came out that it was going to be influencer-centric. Now we're hearing more. There's a name to it. And so this headline here is, Dr. Disrespect launches AAA gaming studio Midnight Society. Prominent streamer Dr. Disrespect announces that he has created a brand new AAA game studio called Midnight Society. Basically, according to this, it will be a AAA studio competing with games on the same level as other AAA developers, and they will be partnering with a bunch of creators. So they're gonna be working with influencers and creators in the space that will be very involved from, I think they call it day zero kind of development, where from the very beginning they're getting feedback from the community and from these influencers. According to this article, we don't know yet what Dr. Disrespect is going to do day to day. But they're guessing because of his involvement, it's obviously going to be a first-person shooter of some kind. I'm curious, now that we've had some time to think about this, and there's a little bit more detail, and at least there's a name to it now. And the question we got on Twitter was, what do you guys think of this? Right? Like, does Doc's studio here have a chance of success? And what do you guys think of this sort of day zero model where they're involving people from the community in decision making literally from the get-go, right? So it's an integral part of the development process.
Yeah, I'm happy to go. I don't want to keep being the first one to answer, but I don't know how I feel about this. On the one hand, obviously, if you're building a game that is meant to be streamable, then it makes sense to include influencers, but there's such a small portion of the gaming community that actually streams. I'm just not sure if including those opinions from the jump is going to be helpful or hurtful. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of streamers themselves also look for different things in games. So you're never going to be able to make a game that makes every single streamer happy. And then you're in this like weird limbo where you're also not making a game where necessarily gamers are happy with it because it's sort of built with the opinion of streamers in mind. So I don't know. It obviously depends on how this goes, but I tend to think it's a too many cooks in the kitchen kind of deal. I am skeptical on whether or not it will work out. If it does work, it'll be beautiful and perfect and amazing. But I'm skeptical.
But here's the frustration, right? Like the gaming community constantly on a daily basis is like, you're not listening to the players. You're not listening to, like, go into any Reddit, go into any forum, go into any Discord server. The huge amount of complaints you get for whether it's World of Warcraft or New World or Apex or Fortnite or what, like, pick literally any game on the planet. There's a community of people who are constantly saying, you're not listening to the players. You're not doing this, right? These guys come out and say, hey, we're switching up the model. We're going to be talking to the community before we've even written a line of code, right? And talking to the community every time we write a line of code. I'm paraphrasing, right? I'm exaggerating a little bit for effect here, but shouldn't everyone be celebrating this? Jeff? I don't know if you
I don't
have
know. I
thoughts
didn't
on
take it
that
that
or.
they're going to be talking to the community about every line of code. It's just like rather than listening to a bunch of game developers, they're going to be listening to a bunch of streamers. So it's, it's not to say, like, I think it's probably not fair to say that the people who normally develop games aren't gamers and don't have like very, very valid considerations about what makes a fun game. So to me, I was thinking this differently. Like, I did not think that in any way having a bunch of streamers involved in making the game would make the game a better game. I thought about it in from like more of a business sense of, hey, you're kind of verticalizing the, like doing a vertical strategy where you're kind of owning the marketing arm, because we know right now one of the best forms of marketing is word of mouth. Streamers, these people have massive communities, so having them on board as kind of owners of the game and having their name on the game, would that make the game more successful because you sort of have the distribution arm? So to me, that was what I
Yeah.
thought. In terms of whether this game is going to be good or not, I think you have to say odds are this game probably never even gets made. And that's simply taking a step back from an industry perspective.
Hot take.
Think about how many games. Yeah, I mean, think about
There's a
how hard
hot
it is to
take.
build up a AAA studio. We have no idea how many developers they have. We have no idea if they have any sort of, real game development management chops, how much capital they have. Like, to me, I think I would even take the under that a game ever comes out of this studio. I'd put that at probably 50-50. And, odds are it ends up not being very good. And that's nothing against Dr. Disrespect or any of these guys, because obviously they're incredibly successful and built amazing brands. It's just mathematically, like, it's really damn hard to build a good shooter game. So mathematically probably won't happen or will not be very good. So, but it's
if I could jump in, unless Paul, you wanted to redirect after
No, go
that,
ahead.
but yeah, because I've had mixed feelings about this, and it just hasn't sat right with me since I read about it. And I think Jeff and Lindsay did an awesome job kind of explaining why. I've been familiar and been aware of certain games, to Jeff's point, that never even made it the distance. Games that had big names attached to them, akin right next to names like Ninja and Tim the Tatman. And these games just, they got buried. They had funding and it didn't happen. The user feedback doesn't bother me so much from a too many cooks in the kitchen perspective, because in tech and you rely so much on that kind of data and insight that it can be helpful, so long as you keep it at arm's length, I think, and don't make it like the core premise of your business. But what actually bothers me most, or another thing that bothers me that I just wanted to add, because you guys had great points already, was Dr. Disrespect. We get bored to death with people talking about authentic this, authentic that. And, one of the reasons why he has such a great following, I think, is because he doesn't really care, right? He does whatever he wants. And he's great at FPSs. He's definitely an authority and a known name in this space. But I think once you create a company like what he's trying to do here, he has ulterior motives in making the game sell now. So even if you have user feedback, if I'm watching him play it, it's not just because he loves playing the game and because it's fun for him. It's because he has a financial interest in that game becoming popular. And I think that does something that undermines the game or the brand in some capacity. So I don't know, there's ways to look at it and say, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Oh, I mean, if you want to jump in, go for it.
No, Jimmy, I'm just curious if you're on Jeff's side in terms of like, would you take the other side of the bet there with Jeff's hot take?
Let's say that way. Would you?
That's a good question too. Would you invest in this studio?
I'd have to see, what they're offering and at what stage. But I would say, and I'd have to see a little bit more under the hood. On its face right now, it would have to win me over. I'm on the probably won't invest. Probably agree with Jeff that I'd be surprised if it gets made. Part of this. But definitely, I know I don't root for anyone to fail. Would love for this game to get made, to see it compete with Splitgate. That's the other thing. FPS is such a hard nut to crack. Even Destiny, where you knew all those guys had their foundations with Halo, and even Destiny had a hard time getting out the gate because managing funding, right, managing deadlines, meeting expectations. These are multiple $100 million problems to solve. And so to be the first time or a first time company doing that, I understand he has a team of experienced leaders there, but it's still a new company, it's still a new product. And that's a very hard thing to win over, I think. I probably wouldn't invest. Yeah.
Let me just read these comments and then I'll give you guys sort of the answer I gave on Twitter, which I think continues to be my take. I hear the arguments, but I'm interestingly enough, I think the game will get made, but I don't. I'll get to this in a second because I do have a take on this. Trent says, would Rogue Company be considered a flop? Wasn't Dr. Disrespect tied to that game? Trent, I don't know what the sort of the business deal was there, but it was mostly just him helping with one map, as far as I know, and some cosmetics in game. Like it was more a licensing of his look and his brand, more than it was like a game where he had ownership or he was involved in the development of the game. Like I'm pretty sure it was just that one map and some of the cosmetics. Chris says Splitgate is loved by streamers and hardcore gamers, sold very little. The doc is great. He's still a niche of a niche. Co-signing Jeff's undercall. Yeah, look, for me the reason I don't like this is different because I think the doc is more than just a niche of a niche. I do think he's a little bit bigger, and my issue though is with this day zero kind of approach. And day zero, because just to be clear, guys, at least based on everything I've read, this is not just about them involving influencers and streamers. This is about them involving the whole community, right? Getting feedback from hundreds or thousands of people, not just 2 or 3 big streamers. And there, I always worry when anything is built by committee, right? Like if you don't have a singular, clear vision with a visionary at the helm driving it, I just think you're likely to end up with like a muddled soup or stew that doesn't taste very good. Lindsay, I think, said it, too many cooks in the kitchen. I prefer, at least when it comes to game development, just because I've seen it work more often, is classic like Steve Jobs era Apple, where we make what we think the customers need, not we make what the customers tell us they want. And I think most of the great games that have come out is not because they involve the community up front, right? Like I haven't seen any evidence that this day zero kind of community involvement actually works to make great games. This could buck that trend, but I have very little faith in that model. Let's put it that way. I would rather see someone with a great vision, build a game they believe in that they want to play and put that out to the world and hope people like it than sort of ask 1,000 people their opinion, because I have a funny feeling this is going to be just a nightmare to manage also, right? Like, because everyone's got a different opinion of what's fun, what works, what doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, all those competing opinions.